Good morning. Welcome to my channel of Global Solutions. Today, I'm going to show you, explain and demonstrate how gun control is destroying America. From November 1963, when the assassination of President John F. Kennedy was announced in the elementary school where I was in the Philippines, some of my classmates cried. I was surprised and curious, and right there and then, I wanted to know who is Kennedy and where is America. Why is President Kennedy important to me? At that time, I was in the process of studying and researching domestic violence and violence against children. I have developed my first strategy to prevent domestic violence, but Kennedy's death became my long-term strategy to totally eliminate domestic violence that was affecting my physical and mental well-being. And 5 years later, in 1968, I implemented my second and long-term strategy. I left home. I became homeless to start traveling the country to study street and violent domestic violence, homelessness, poverty, police, court, prison system, and at that time the rebellion versus the government, against the government, and other challenges facing humanity. In 1983, that was 20 years later, after the death of President John F. Kennedy, I finally landed in America to continue my global researches. I would like to learn the American culture, social problems, police, court, prison system, homelessness, gangs, gun violence, and all challenges that the American people and the government are facing. Between 1983 to 1986, to continue my research, I covered all 49 states. That's only excluding Alaska. I traveled to Western Europe, Australia, Canada, and Mexico to learn gun violence, poverty, police, court, and prison system. Between 2000 to 2004, if you remember, September 11, 2001, the terror attack in New York. Thereafter, I decided to include terrorism as part of my global research or study. Took me until April 4, 2004 to develop REMO, military strategies. It was developed and without which no military unconventional missions will succeed. I will do a presentation on that, but meanwhile, that's unconventional missions would mean like the Afghanistan war. And to be able to explain that or do a presentation, it will require me another 2-3 hours to do that. So I'll do that separately. Meanwhile, you can get a copy of this book, Police Modernization. From REMO, military strategies, I was able to convert it for police departments and all other law enforcement agencies or departments in the United States and other countries. This will be replacing gun control, and this is my solution to gun violence and terrorism. It was until 2016 when REMO Violence Prevention Program was born. Every law enforcement agencies, police, sheriff, Department of Homeland Security, FBI, Marshal, etc., must now be converted from response to prevention system. What is response and prevention? What's the difference between response and prevention? I will use to demonstrate. I will use LAPD, Los Angeles police cars. When you see their police cars, you will see these words on the side of the cars, and it says to protect and to serve. What does it mean to protect and to serve? It means nothing. It means nothing, and I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you what it means. Here's the legal problem with that protect and serve. In the 2005 case, town of Castle Rock, Colorado versus Gonzalez, the Supreme Court of the United States said that law enforcement officers had no duty to protect any individual. Keep that in mind. Then, latest gun violence occurred at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School at Parkland, Florida. And the students sued the Broward School District and the Sheriff's Office. Unfortunately, and as expected, a federal judge ruled that the government agencies had no constitutional duty to protect students who were not in custody. So what other things can we do? Sue the police? We cannot, because the Supreme Court ruled in favor of two police officers cases involving qualified immunity. So we need to fix the real problem, which is the policing response itself. Sue gun manufacturers. When you sue gun manufacturers, the victims of gun violence may win and get money as compensation for their loved ones who were killed during the mass shootings or gun violence. Keep in mind, even if you can get money, this will not fix the real problem. What's the real problem? Tactical and technical capabilities of police departments are designed to respond. That's why they're called first responders. Oh, I made a mistake on the spelling too. To violent crimes, not to prevent. They do not have the capability to prevent violent crimes, gun violence, mass shootings. They don't. When there is an unruly passenger aboard an airplane, the pilot lands the plane and calls the police. Today, to this date, I believe there are at least 5,000 cases now, and at least 900 cases were forwarded to the FAA, and the FAA, I think, will forward that to the FBI. You see, there's so much bureaucracy here, so much forwarding. Now, when there's gun violence or mass shootings, you dial 911 and call the police. They respond. When a police officer is killed in the line of duty, you dial 911 and other police officers will come in. When there's a police suicide, the police will come and investigate. That's the reason why prison in America is number one in the world. We have the highest prison population in the world. When a police officer responds to any gun violence or mass shootings, and if the shooter is apprehended, the shooter will be investigated. He will be taken to court to protect his rights, and later, if he is found guilty, the court will sentence him and take him to prison. That's our system. Mass shootings, gun violence, police response, then court system, and then the prison. The terrorism in New York is no different. When there's terrorism, you call the police again to investigate. And we all know that the government spent $6 to $8 trillion when we sent our men and women in Afghanistan and everywhere else in Pakistan. And in addition to that, we need at least another $1 trillion to take care of our men and women who came back with problems, physical or mental challenges. Additionally, we also spent $1 trillion to keep those terrorists in an island belonging to Cuba. Now, in view of all the above, the biggest question is that we must answer is, should we allow all law-abiding Americans to be able to conceal carry weapons to protect themselves, their family members, their homes, or businesses? With REMO Violence Prevention Program, law-abiding Americans will be allowed to help conceal carry weapons anywhere in the United States. At the same time, those with criminal records or those who have committed violence against women and children will not be able to have firearms. There will be no illegal firearms anywhere where REMO prevention is implemented. Why do we need concealed carry weapons if we have REMO? Well, it will take a while before REMO Violence Prevention Program can be totally put into place because America has so many cities, many counties, and many states. It will take time to convert all police departments and other law enforcement agencies in the United States. And that's the reason why I believe that concealed carry weapons should be provided to all law-abiding citizens. And as I said, the conversion from response to prevention will take a while. You can get a copy of this book at Amazon in order to understand everything. And so at this point, America must choose now between REMO Violence Prevention Program or continue the political wrangling of our leaders on gun control and to continue the destruction of America. But hurting or suing our police officers is not the answer. Or trying to destroy the gun industry is not the answer either. Gun control protects the lives and rights of criminals at the expense of the rights and lives of law-abiding citizens. It protects the lives of criminals by putting them behind bars. We provide them food, medical care, lawyers, warm beds, exercise, etc. All at the expense of law-abiding citizens whose loved ones became victims of criminals. REMO prevention system is applicable to the following: violence aboard airplanes anywhere in the world, gun violence, mass shootings anywhere in the United States, knife crime in the United Kingdom, terrorism in the United States and Europe, police killed while in the line of duty, police suicide, suicide in the military, vehicular traffic congestions anywhere in the world, U.S. highways accidental deaths. And here's a good example. These are the numbers of police officers who were killed while in the line of duty. I can only provide you from 2014 to 2020. And take note that these numbers are subject to your verification. It could be less, it could be more. Now, just like I was saying, police protect and serve. If police themselves are getting killed while in the line of duty, that means police officers cannot protect themselves and therefore they are not capable of protecting any individual or community members. And because of the difficulties that police officers are facing nowadays, with all this, they fund the police or police are getting sued, police are getting killed, many of them have committed suicide as well. As you will see, in 2019, 228 committed suicide, but police who were killed in the line of duty is only 155. So, REMO, this will be included under REMO prevention system. Including under REMO is the U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's on traffic fatalities. As you can see, they have provided all these numbers in their annual report of the number of people who were killed on traffic and roadway related accidents. In 2010 alone, yes, you can see, and look at the figures below. The cost to our society is 871 billion, where 3.9 million people were injured in traffic and roadways related accidents. 24 millions were damaged. And now you will be able to understand why the government is not capable of solving this national problem despite spending millions of dollars in research. I'll give you an example of where part of the system problem of America. Whenever a president leaves the White House, look at Clinton. He left us with $1.5 trillion, and he's a Democrat. George Bush, he's a Republican, and he left us with $5.85 trillion. And you remember September 11 during George Bush's time at the White House. Also, you will remember the war in Afghanistan and the mission in Iraq. Obama added 8.6 trillion, and as you can see here, all three of them are different. Clinton and Bush are white people. Obama is black. There are two Democrats, one Republican. They all added to the national debt. It's a system problem. That is why, regardless of your political affiliation, it doesn't matter. You will keep on adding money into the national debt, and that's why I'm providing this presentation for you to understand why and how do we fix this. Trump, when he left the White House, he left us with 6.7 trillion, and you will remember our problem on the COVID-19, and COVID-19 caused the economic recession of 2020. And then Biden, as of this date, Democrat is at 1.84 trillion. And the quick answer to change this system problem is simply conversion from response to prevention. And I will explain to you how to do that. Now look at Chicago's gun control. Chicago's gun violence is high taxes, budget deficits is just growing. Now ask yourselves, in the 80s, Obama is from Chicago. He started in Chicago. He used to be a senator in Illinois. Then he went to the White House for 8 years. And ask yourself, what has Obama done to improve Chicago and the black people of America? Was he able to fix the gun violence of Chicago? No. He was not. Under his tenure at the White House, there were 24 mass shootings, where 236 were killed and 257 were injured, the highest compared to other presidents. Obama kept talking about gun control in his 20th century policing report. That is the very reason why I wrote him letters, and I wrote and published that book, and I sent him copies, and he would not even respond to my letters or my book. He kept on talking about gun control in 20th century, which we all know went nowhere. And additionally, he added the highest debt in the entire history of this country at 8.6 trillion. And these days, While Chicago's gun violence is reeling, high taxes, budget deficits, Obama chose to retire away from Chicago, and he went to Massachusetts by Martha's Vineyard, where he's enjoying his 12 million mansion and his multi-million finances that has dramatically improved. Here's gun control. Where we are now at 2021, by the end of this year, it is estimated that it will become a 115% of the GDP. If the government failed to adopt REMO, violence prevention, that 115 by 2050 will become at least 195% of the GDP. What will happen? National security will be seriously at stake. There will probably be less money for defense, for law enforcement, for intelligence, etc. The U.S. economy will continue to grow weaker. This is the worst part. There are many bad things that will happen in this country by 2050 with a 195% death to GDP. Homelessness, gun violence, political fighting, hatred against immigrants, that we see now. All this that you see now are just the tip of the iceberg until 2050. And that's where everything will just get worse. One of the most important function of REMO prevention program, currently at 28.9 trillion, is to stop this from growing and reset it into a downward trend. Take note of that. There's no such program anywhere in the world. I'll show you how to do that. Now, under gun control, President Biden would like to spend $3.5 trillion on infrastructure, but he would like to raise corporate tax rate from 21 to 26%. And these are the negative effects. Even a high school kid can figure this out. It will be difficult for American companies to compete globally. Added taxes will simply be passed to American consumers. That's us. It will boost the economy of China. Why? Because China's cost of labor is very low compared to America. American companies will be forced to move to somewhere else like China, Canada, Latin American, or other countries or other Asian countries, which means job losses for Americans. Now, in complete comparison to Biden's program, REMO prevention program can provide as much as $4 trillion on infrastructure. That's at $800 billion for 5 years. And get this, instead of raising taxes, it will lower corporate tax rate from 21 down to 10%. And there will be no tax increases for billionaires, millionaires, or any individuals. Here are the benefits. It will create jobs for Americans on infrastructures, enable American companies to compete globally with low corporate tax rate, enable American companies to hire more Americans, lower price of goods for American consumers and exports, and most importantly, it reset the rising federal debt, currently at 28.9, into a downward trend. This new system will totally prevent economic recession permanently. When I said corporate tax rate at 10%, that is only good for 5 years. On the 6th and on, permanently it will become 5%. Under his gun control, President Biden he would like to tax billionaires, and he would like to spend $555 billion for climate change. And I'm going to explain to you why this is a total waste of money, why this will hurt America and the rest of the world. Now, here's gas emissions report from the government in 2019. You can see that big piece of pie at 29%. That is the biggest target of REMO. When I said transportation, I'm simply referring to traffic congestions in the entire country. We have to reduce that by at least a minimum of 60 to 80%. And to do that, these are our, we will be able to prevent these losses annually. In traffic congestion, it's costing our economy 305 billion, 87 billion loss in productivity, 871 billion in traffic fatalities, 3.9 million injuries in 2010, 24 million vehicles were damaged also in 2010, 32,299 lives were lost in 2010. That's at 88 lives a day. This is the biggest benefit out of REMO. Eliminate congestion, traffic congestion in the United States, which represent 29%. And if we can get 60 to 80%, that's a big reduction to climate change. Simply by conversion from response to prevention. And because of this, I was able to develop global traffic decongestion program. This is designed for the United States and many other countries around the world with problem on traffic congestions. One beneficiary is a small country where I came from, Philippines. I can only provide Philippines with 10 to 20% of reduction on traffic. But the United States, I am capable of reducing it by 60 to 80%. See, because the traffic congestion is flexible. That means whatever is in America cannot be copied by Philippines, or whatever I have designed for Los Angeles cannot be copied by the city of Chicago, or what's in Chicago cannot be copied by New York. Flexibility. So nobody will be able to copy each other's program. One big benefit of REMO is Social Security Trust Fund is expected to be depleted by 2034 to 2035. And when that happens, those who are receiving Social Security now, where there will be a reduction of at least 21%. Future recipients, I really don't know what's going to happen. But this will not require any increase in payroll taxes or the need to raise the retirement age and to protect Social Security permanently. Just like what I said, we need to go global. Gas emissions is at 65%. We have to reduce this. And just like what I said, this is my global traffic decongestion program is applicable to many other countries like Canada, Mexico, any other countries in Europe, Australia. All those will benefit from REMO prevention system, including Vision Zero. What is Vision Zero? So I believe Sweden started this, and the objective is to reduce fatal crashes. Sweden has so far one of the best in the world, with 45% more or less success rating. But if you will compare that to my REMO prevention can start at 60% to 80% the first 2 years. Another copycat, New York in 2017, after spending 160 million, they were the 222, they were able to bring it down to 200, meaning they were able to save 22 lives. Wow, 160 million. And New York would like to spend the next few years 1.6 billion. This is very important for you to really analyze. Now, Los Angeles, same thing. From 2015 fatal crashes, after spending 100 million, the fatal crashes went up by 36%. Imagine that, it went up by 36%. It did not go down, not one life was saved. Los Angeles also raised taxes to fix homelessness. And what happened to homelessness in Los Angeles? Again, it went up. Now, the mayor of Los Angeles, I think he says he wanted to spend 1 billion for 5 years. And I'm going to tell you now, homelessness in Los Angeles will keep on going up, regardless of the amount of money that the government spends. Now, here's what I cannot figure out. All these political leaders keeps on thinking that raising taxes will fix the problem. And no, it is not going to happen. Whatever they do, it's not. It's about designing the program itself. Because remote prevention will reverse all these problems, without using taxpayers' money. Same thing in Australia. Traffic congestion of 3.5 billion. Homelessness is going up. And domestic violence, 22 billion in 2015. It will keep on going up. And as they are expecting, it will become a 323 Australian billion dollars by 2044 to 2045 if they cannot fix it between then and now. And I'm going to tell you, if they cannot fix it in 15 and 2016 or so on, they will never be able to fix this domestic violence without program, which is simply remote prevention. Remote prevention is also applicable in the United Kingdom. Look at their traffic jams. It's an 8 billion British pounds in 2018. Prison is going up. Knife crime. They're asking, can London's knife crime can be stopped? No, they cannot stop that without Remo. Because why? It's very simple. The policing system of London, the policing system of America or Australia or everywhere else are all the same. Remo violence prevention. The positive and productive effects to the world's poverty and violence in Canada, Mexico, Latin American countries, Europe, Philippines, and other Asian countries. This is the real answer, not mass immigrations. As you can see now, those thousands of people who would like to immigrate into, cross the border, the United States southern border, to go to America as their answer to their poverty and violence is actually not. Because we have growing poverty and violence here in America, and without Remo, everybody will have this poverty and violence. So definitely, because this is developed in the United States, the United States will be able to lead the world on reducing poverty and violence in many countries around the world, instead of accepting illegal immigrations at our borders. The conversion of the current police system from response to prevention is the only answer. Terrorism cannot be prevented by spending 6 to 8 trillion in Afghanistan, and we all know where America and allies were defeated by the Taliban. Like climate change cannot be solved without this conversion and government modernization program, because political leaders are only good at raising taxes to solve problems. And I have shown you a few examples of that. Either that or they implement budget cuts or simply a combination of both. Remote prevention is applicable to gun violence. Look at that, about more than 280 billion cost on gun violence in the United States alone, and approximately more or less 38,000 deaths a year from gun violence. When we are able to tame this with REMO, we will be able to reverse the prison population, and we know America is #1 in the world. We cannot sustain that. It will increase funding for the education of Americans, and all this without raising taxes. The education of Americans, we cannot rely on just providing them education alone, which we also have problems. Now, get this. Last year, the government spent 25 million to research on gun violence. I believe it was Speaker Pelosi who provided this 25 million to NIDC and CDC. And I'm going to tell you now, as expected, that 25 million is a total waste of money. Total waste of money. Because they will never find the solution. All they need to do is get a copy of my book. I think it's 20 or 25. I cannot really remember, at Amazon. And they don't have to spend 25 million. Only $25. And they will get their answers. Non-profit organizations. How many non-profit organizations are there in America searching gun violence, how to prevent gun violence since the 1980s? Some of them have been here. And they will not find it because they're spending millions as compared to my book, which is only $20 or $25. And then I also, as I've said, I wrote and published that book for Obama and Biden. And unfortunately, Obama kept on talking gun control for 8 years. And he wanted his 20th century policing reform, which did not go anywhere else. His gun control and 20th century policing reform bill is a total waste of time and money. And as we look at Chicago's gun violence now, you can imagine. Remote prevention. If you look around the World Economic Forum in Davos, where people spend as much as $21,000 to $660,000 engagement fee, you will never find by global solutions here. Paris Climate Accord signed by 195 participants in 2015. What do you think will happen to that? It is now almost end of 2021. There's nothing yet. Nothing will happen to that. There will be no productive or positive results for the world without REMO. COP26, Climate Summit. Of course, nothing will come out from that. It's all talk and no action. And these are my guarantees. You will never find any other individual, team, from any private or government institutions, including law enforcement, military, and intelligence agencies, that can defeat or match my analysis, strategies, solutions, and programs. These solutions and programs cannot be developed by anyone else. And because of President Kennedy, I would like, without him, maybe I would not be here in America today. So I would like to dedicate my global studies in honor of President John F. Kennedy, the President of the United States of America. Keep in mind that this is a one-time chance only to reverse all these serious national problems for America. global humanity, safety, economy, and our environment. Today you have to choose gun control or Remo prevention. Thank you and God bless America.